Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Thanks for dropping by my weekly workshop, coming to you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. For those new arrivals to our community, the weekly workshop features a compilation of my content from the last 7 days, including, but not limited to, inspiration for would-be side hustlers and full-time giggers, tool and gear reviews, and finding financial and lifestyle freedom through entrepreneurship. And also, if you prefer your content of the video variety, you can find it all at toolmantim.co. Thanks for taking the time to have a listen, and with that, let's dive into this week's edition of the Weekly Workshop. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Thursday night, which means we're not normally live, but here we are. This is taking the place of our normal Sunday night live stream. Since it's Halloween, I thought we'd move it to a more advantageous time and evening. So one thing you're going to notice is a slight bit of rebranding with the live stream. We're going to move away from the name of Talking Tools, and it's going to be branded as The Workshop or The Workshop Live. You can call it whatever you want, but there's just so many names kicking around. I'll deal with this a little bit after, let you know. Excuse me. Fighting a cold again tonight, guys, so I really apologize if anybody's out there and you want to holler at me. I'll do my best not to cough into the mic. So if you guys follow me on social, you will know that early this week, I posted a request for 100. I gave everybody, it was kind of a fun little exercise. I gave everybody a metaphorical $100 to spend and up to 5 items or less to put together a kit for either a brand new prepper or a young adult who's just moving out on their own and might not know what exactly they need. So tonight, I want to talk about that. Hey, John, just seeing you in there. Sorry about that, guys. Couple of technical difficulties tonight, so it's going to be a good night. I know it is. I love having this. So first off, before we dive into the main topic, a couple quick things. If you're watching this on the replay, you need to know more about who this ugly feller is up here in front of you. You can always check me out at toolmantim.co. That's toolmantim.co. We got a weekly podcast, a monthly newsletter, and the shop over there. Most of you guys know about that anyway, but there's a ton of cool products in there that I recommend that I've used in my handyman business. So if you're looking for recommendations, check that out. 2 quick announcements for you guys. First off, I got to say thank you to James over at the Preppers Broadcasting Network. They had me on Preppers Live Monday night, and what an awesome show it was. We had a solid 2 hours where we talked about entrepreneurship, home construction, preparedness, give my story. It was just an awesome time. They seemed to like me enough that they kind of asked me that if I wanted to start putting out a more regular podcast, that sound like there was quite a bit of interest there and carrying it over on their network. So awesome. I love spanning out and, interacting with new communities. I really didn't know who they were before they reached out to me. And there's some awesome people over there, guys. So if you want to check out, they've got like 14 podcasters with a whole bunch of different podcasting shows. So it's really cool. And number 2, like I said, we're going to rebrand this a little bit. So it's going to become the Workshop or the Workshop Live. We're going to split it. My idea is going forward this winter is to have 2 live streams a week, Thursday night and Sunday night. So if you can't make it to one, you can always make it to the other. Sunday night's going to be more for interviews, having guests on, having my wife on to chat about things around the house, that kind of stuff. And Thursday night is going to be me talking about preparedness. I really want to start out a series on home maintenance and preparedness, go through all the different systems of the house, that kind of stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. It'd be a huge expansion on what I talked about the other night on the Preppers Live with the Preppers Broadcasting Network. And the podcast is going to go to 3 days a week. I'm not going to be doing any more content. I'm always going to be putting out 5 pieces a week. But the Thursday and Sunday live streams are going to be 2 episodes. And the Saturday workshop, weekend workshop is going to be its own shorter episode. So if you guys are more into the audio end of things, that'll be an option as well. So anyway, let's dive in, guys. It was a really cool week. So I had an ulterior motive for doing this episode tonight. My wife and I are looking at taking about $100 we have 3 adult kids, and they're not going to watch this live stream. I'm sure they're not. So I'm not going to give it away. But the reason I put the social media post out the way I did was I didn't want them to know that it was about them. We're looking at putting together around that idea of $100. I wouldn't call it a housewarming. I brought my kids up to know about preparedness, but we wanted to spend a little bit of the Christmas budget this year on putting together kind of a kit around the idea of preparedness for our 3 young adult kids who all live on their own in their own houses. So I asked a bunch of different people, and I got a metric shit ton of really cool answers. And I thought we would maybe chat a little bit about the idea of 2 things, putting together a kit for kids who maybe don't know that they need to be prepared or maybe can't afford it. And also, I got a really cool question that if I have time, I'll answer it at the end tonight from a brand new prepper, an adult, but somebody who was just getting into it. And I don't know about you guys, but when I first got started, I had a lot of help from a lot of people, a lot of cool questions, a lot of people that were very patient with me in answering a lot of my questions. And, it would be nice to be able to give back. So I thought, why not do this little exercise of what exactly are some essential items that we can put together in a kit for, like I said, young adults or new preppers. So a few thoughts when I first got started in, but most, especially for young people and new people, the biggest thing are personal disasters. If we're putting together a kit, if you give them a damn Geiger counter, a radioactive mask, and a Faraday cage, they're just going to laugh you out of the house and be like, get out of here. That's not practical. It makes no sense. It's not worth it. So to me, I thought the first thing that a fellow should look at in a preparedness kit for somebody new is making sure that it deals with a personal disaster, something that actually could affect them. And we'll go through a whole list of them as we work our way through. But one thing I know about not always new preppers, but young people in general is that they're usually on a really tight budget, and they really can't afford a whole hell of a lot of investment to put into preparedness. So it's really cool to be able to, help them out. And I thought this would be fun. And I got some really good gift ideas from different people. And at the end, I'll share with you guys the 5 items I kind of settled on for the preparedness kit we're going to put together for our kids. So hopefully they don't watch this, but if they do, that's okay too. So for me, the focus of the items in either instance were I needed them to be super practical. So it's something that a kid might not think about buying. I say a kid, they could be mid-20s. Hey, Chris, how are you? You didn't miss a whole lot. Couple of cool little announcements about two live streams a week and that kind of stuff, but nothing too serious. First 5 minutes, it's all there. But we're just chatting away about putting together a gift box, a Christmas gift box for a new prepper or young people who moved out on their own, first off. So for me, the main focus of these items, the things that I wanted to deal with were they had to be super practical. So it had to be something that, kids aren't very practical. My oldest would love to buy, hey, Greg, how are you? They would love to buy, cell phone accessories or Funko Pops, but they're never going to buy themselves a top quality can opener. So things need to be super practical, not overly expensive. To me, my budget was $100. And so if I could get 5 $20 items, that would be great because you can get good quality if you look around and price things. And they needed to be something that, I'm going to use the word young people, but you can interchange young people and new preppers here, but something that they wouldn't necessarily think about buying. So real practical stuff like a battery pack, like a backup battery pack for a cell phone. Those are great. So then I'm like, okay, what are the personal emergencies that most people living out on their own are going to deal with? Things that are probably very common or at least, could happen, and things that they're probably not giving any real thought to on a day-to-day basis. And of course, for me, you guys know I'm passionate about backup power. And so power outages was a big one. The next one to me was being able to fix something or assemble something. Another one was vehicle emergencies. They all have their own vehicles. And again, the last thing that most young people like to spend money on is preventative maintenance on a vehicle. So it's always, hey, Dad, come and get me. I'm broke down on the side of the road, or I have a flat tire, or I don't have a snow brush. Can I borrow one? Sorry, guys. The throat is just not working good tonight, so I might have to sip on the coffee a little bit more for you. So yeah, vehicle emergencies. Another one is hurting themselves. So this whole list. Hey, Jaggy, how are you? This is my brother from another mother from across the pond in Scotland. Nice to see you. It must be like 4 a.m. over there. But he said, awesome idea, Tim, to give someone a preparedness Christmas gift. What a good way to introduce them to prepping. And it absolutely is. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't need to be a friggin' Faraday cage and a Geiger counter so we all come across to some crazy prepper. These are practical ideas that we can put together that people are actually going to use so that when their own little personal shit hits the fan, the power goes out and they have to think about it, 2 a.m. in Scotland. I thought so. They're going to say, man, you know what? Being prepared is a good thing. Having a little backup power emergency kit is great. Having a vehicle emergency kit is great. Having a well-stocked medicine cabinet or first aid kit is a really good idea. And for the record, most of the suggestions that I put in here because these are the things that my adult kids are constantly coming to me to either borrow or say, Dad, I'm all out of this. Do you have any of these? So I thought, you know what? If my 3 young kids, young adult kids are borrowing these things or always in constant need of these things, then I'm sure a lot of other people are too. So it was a good way for me to kind of form together what we can put together in one of these kits. Oh, and the other one, another kind of common emergency, maybe a little bit less, but is some sort of fire emergency. And I'm actually going to talk about everybody on social, the different suggestions that they came up with, because it was just some really awesome products and ideas that came up. And so I'm going to put together, a theoretical kit for each of these situations that a new young person or a new prepper might find themselves in, because a lot of people, new preppers or young people, they don't even know where to start. So these little kits will be a good jumping off point for them. It's not going to cost a whole lot. And if there's one thing I hate, it's I shouldn't say always, but pre-made kits are usually junk. If you ever go to like a trade show or something and they're like, oh, here's a free automotive safety kit, and they give it to you, and the jumper cables are made out of like 18 gauge wire that's going to burn up the first time you put any bit of charge through them, or they're going to crack in half when the weather gets too cold. They're just junk. And they always fill them. How about those little giveaway first aid kits? They're going to give you, 17 tablets of some weird aspirin that you're never going to use. And they're going to give you 6 Band-Aids that are made out of plastic that wouldn't stick to, a glue factory. They're just, to me, I love the idea of putting these together personally. And there's a few reasons, but number one, your money goes further. I watched a review last night and I'm eyeing up the Milwaukee Packouts. You guys know I'm a big Tool fan, obviously, and I'm a big DeWalt fan, but I love the Milwaukee Packouts. It's a whole modular storage system, and they came out with a first aid kit that fits into those. Yes, exactly, Jaggy. Yeah, stealing my thunder here, buddy. You reading my notes? But Jaggy says, make your own kit so it'll be cheaper and better. And it's true, because this Milwaukee Packout was awesome, but it was like $70. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't like the selection of products that were in it. It seemed undersupplied for what you paid. It was basically, you're paying $70 for a fancy Milwaukee storage kit. And then they kind of, as an afterthought, threw in a bunch of first aid stuff. And of course, it meets the requirements, but the pre-made kit to me was just, it doesn't work. So putting together a kit like this, number one, your money's going to go further. So like Jaggy said, cheaper. So if you go and buy yourself a bulk package of, say, Band-Aids, for instance, you're going to get way more than those individually wrapped and packaged things that you're going to get. At the old hardware store where I used to work at, we used to have to buy, hey, Joseph, how are you, buddy? Nice to see you. We used to have to get aspirin in an individual package. It had 2 pills in it, and I want to say they were like 50 cents a piece. So we used to go to Costco and buy a 500 bottle of Tylenol and leave it in the first aid kit. Not sure if that was legal or not, but it was way, way cheaper. So putting together these kits yourself, number one, your money's going to go further. Just like Jaggy says, cheaper and better. Number two, you can custom the kit to the recipient. So you can say, okay, Well, maybe this person has, I don't know, I was going to say asthma or something. Like, you could absolutely focus that first aid kit on something that person, maybe they're, what do you want to call it? Accident prone, for instance. And, they tend to cut themselves a lot. So maybe you're going to give them some extra Band-Aids, or, maybe they don't have a car. So an automotive kit, it's not really going to cut the mustard for them. But what I like about this is you can absolutely customize the kit to the recipient. And also you can maybe find out what their interests are and form it around that as well. And number 3, what I really like about putting these kits together, this idea is, and it might sound kind of cheesy, but it shows that you're thoughtful. It shows that you actually spend some time to put together a kit for somebody that's either a friend, an acquaintance, or a family member. And they'll think, wow, this is really neat. It actually shows that you put some thought into it. So, like I said, all of these potential kits were things that my adult kids would come by and borrow all the time. Batteries are one, toilet paper is another one, Band-Aids are another one. So I thought I would put together some of these different kits. And if, anybody has any ideas of things that you think should go in these kits, throw it up there in the comments for me while we're going along, because I threw all these together. These were, again, based on a lot of the suggestions from everybody on social this week. And it was awesome. People loved the video. It got like 3,000 views on Instagram, which was kind of cool. But again, I just wanted to put these little things together as kind of a thought exercise for us. So the first one would be a vehicle emergency kit. And actually, my kids are fairly well versed in this, but any prepper or anybody who calls themselves a prepper that doesn't have a good quality pair of booster cables might want to think about it. I mean, that's not a slam on anybody, but having a good set of booster cables can get you out of a ton of trouble, and you can end up helping a whole lot of other people as well. Jaggy, I got to read that. Did you ever get anything back from your kids who borrowed them? I bet not. Oh, you know what? Extension cords. That's another one. They borrow extension cords all the time. I think they eat them for lunch. Well, I did get my goof off back, but it was empty. So I guess there's that. But I got to say, I'm pretty bad too. When I was first married, I borrowed my dad's pickaxe, and the kids took it and left it out in the road, and somebody stole it. And my dad never got his pickaxe back, and it was his father's pickaxe. So I'm just as bad. I think we all are a little bit. So as far as, I guess I have 5 different kits that you could put together. I thought it'd be fun to throw them all together as a theme, because just, ripping and pulling a bunch of random different ideas together, you might get them some good stuff, but having a theme like a vehicle emergency kit or a toolkit allows you to kind of focus that money on something that really helps. Yeah. Oh, Chris. Yeah, this is a good one. I like this. Mr. Dixon says, if one of my kids borrows something, I generally go and buy another one. That is a true story. Or if I know my kid needs one, I'll go buy a new one and then give them my old one as well. But it's true, because we love our kids. I love my kids, and they know I love them. But absolutely, if they borrow something, there's a 75 to 95% chance that I'm not getting it back. And if I do, it's in 2 pieces. So there's that. So vehicle emergency kit, number 1, booster cables. Like I said, a good long, I always told my kids, buy the most expensive pair of booster cables you can get. And for the most part, they've done it. Olivia's really good at that, but you need to have them, or maybe a booster pack now. Now, I picked one up a year ago at Costco, and I don't know what the hell's wrong with it, but I can't get this damn booster pack to work. So I think it's defective, but it's well past its return date. So I'm going to pick up a new one, because I want to have one on hand, but I also want to be able to do a test and review for them. A small little first aid kit. Honestly, I don't know what exactly you want to keep in a first aid kit for an automotive thing, but mainly batteries, maybe some Tylenol, some tweezers, some floss, all the stuff that you need in a car when you're driving around and you're thinking, oh yeah, I just got some peanut caught in my teeth and I can't get it out, and I'm not going to be stopped anywhere. And kids never think to buy that kind of stuff. A battery pack cell phone charger. Those are great. We keep one of them in our car, but again, new preppers, young kids, they either don't think about it or don't have the money to spend on it. A small little pack of snacks. And for us up here, Chris, you'll appreciate this one, but a really good quality ice scraper / snow brush. Know your Joe. Yes. And that is funny. I forgot to mention a tire repair kit. You guys hear me talk about them all the time, but I forgot to mention it. I forgot to put it in my show notes. So thank you. Now that's something that would require a bit of skill. And I've got a section at the end about things that are free. You know, we can take the time and teach them or share some ideas or share some videos, that kind of stuff with them. But yes, tire repair kit, absolutely. And they're cheap. Like those Victor ones are under $10 and they are great. But again, what good's a tire repair kit if you don't know how to repair your tires? So yes, up here. So another item that my kids somehow seem to lose on a regular basis is a good quality snow brush. But they're not the only ones. I also take my snow brushes and I set them in my garage in the spring, and they manage to disappear through the summer. And that's not them, that's me. I don't know where they go. So I usually have to buy some new ones too, but a good quality snow brush that isn't going to go missing. Jaggy said, have a first aid kit, med kit for you and another for any accidents you may come across. Never use your... Oh, okay. So like 2 is 1, 1 is none type thing. So have a second one so you never have to dip into your personal. I really like that. Is I can't. I was going to take a screenshot, but I'm on my PC. So anyway, I use a windshield cover because I don't like scraping. You know, John, that is something I've never really thought of. And I might have to look into that. You know, we don't get a ton of snow here, but we do end up with a lot of frost and a lot of ice on our wind. Well, mainly frost. And I really do hate scraping too. A lot of times what I do is I hop in the car and I use my windshield washer to melt the ice and just keep spraying it until it warms up. But yes, I love that idea, John. I'm going to put that in the notes afterwards so I try to remember. Folding shovel. That's not something I keep, but I know some people like them, especially if you live in, like, say, Colorado or somewhere where you get a lot of snow. You got to dig yourself out of a snowbank once in a while. And hand warmers. I love hand warmers. I don't know. Lost a bunch of weight last winter and my hands seem to be cold all the friggin' time now, but hand warmers are great. And in a pinch, you can take them and throw them down in your boots. Know your Joe said this, another great one for automotive. 12-volt high volume compressor, kind of expensive, but nice. And you guys know, again, probably that I'm a big DeWalt fan and I love my DeWalt inflation station. Even got a video coming up on it this month. But one of these are actually, even the expensive ones are cheaper, of course, than the DeWalt one. And yes, those are great. A nice 12-volt high capacity compressor along with a tire repair kit. And they can get themselves by, get themselves out of a lot of emergencies. But again, they need the skills. So if you're going to give this kind of stuff, take some time and force them to learn it. And, you know, my daughters especially, they love to learn this kind of stuff. So yeah, I just need to sometimes maybe take a little more time and teach them. I'm guilty of that too. So automotive was the first one. Second preparedness kind of Christmas kit that I thought about was a toolkit. And this one came from my buddy Ryan Collette. And there's a good chance he'll be watching this on the replay. So if he does, here's a shout out for him. But he's a man. I've talked about him before. He's a hardworking dude who started a handyman business as well. And his idea was a whole bunch of different tools. And to me, that is a godsend as well. My daughter Grace loves tools. I give her my old don't tell anybody, but my old Milwaukee drill before I moved on to bigger and better yellow and black things, i.e. DeWalt. And she uses it all the time. And I bought her some nice tools, but the rest of them, not so much. So a really good idea could be a toolkit. Jaggy says, a big trash bag can also be used as a survival sleeping bag. If had to sleep in the car with a blanket, that extra layer can make a difference. Just don't pull it over your head and tie it shut. But yeah, no, that's actually a really cool idea, Jaggy. It also would double if you've ever done something stupid like I have and gone in the house at night with the windows down and ended up, your seat getting absolutely soaked and then needing to go somewhere. You can throw that down on there, and it might not be the most comfortable, but at least you won't end up with a wet butt when you're done. But that's an awesome one. And that's basically free, or at least cheap anyway. Ooh, almost spilled my coffee, guys. Sorry. There, what's John say? It's amazing how warm a vehicle can stay with a survival candle. Well, a few years ago, my wife had to spend a couple of nights in the hospital in Edmonton, about 3 hours away. And since I was by myself, I didn't want to spend the nearly $100 a night for a hotel. We had a Dodge Grand Caravan at the time, so I put down some memory foam in the back of it, and I slept my ass 2 nights in a row in the parking garage there. Nobody said anything. I just slid in the back, slept, and then in the morning I'd get back up, drive around, and go. And I would turn the car on before I'd go to sleep, let it run for a few minutes, and then turn it off. And to me, and it was, oh, by the way, it was -20 those 2 nights, and I loved it. All I had was a couple of comforters, and I was absolutely happy. So yeah, and so even without a survival candle, cars can stay fairly warm, especially if you're a big burly man like me. But yes, a survival candle absolutely can warm up and make a vehicle toasty. So I'm going to add, while we're going here, guys, I'm going to add garbage bag, survival candle. I'm going to put these notes out somewhere when we're done too. And you can heat up a coffee with a survival candle too. That is always thinking. There's my coffee cup tonight. Whoops. Fluent in sarcasm. Just ask my wife. She'll tell you. Know Your Joe says, Cobalt has some nice toolkits that go on sale for Black Friday. And you know what? I kind of like that Cobalt brand a little bit. Some of the stuff I've seen recently. Now, one thing I will say is we have my, I wouldn't call it favorite, but we have Crappy Tire up here, another name for Canadian Tire. And they have Mastercraft and JobMate, which are kind of like, JobMate's just a cheap little brand. And sometimes they'll have like a, 7,000 piece toolkit for like $13 or something. And it's like 4 good tools and the rest is 1/8 inch metal bits, but it's not bad. It's okay. But again, I love the idea of putting together a kit myself. So toolkit, and a lot of this part of this section is thankful to Ryan Collette, but a multi-bit screwdriver. I love my Milwaukee. It's a little more expensive, but you can get some no-name ones. A hammer. First off, a multi-bit screwdriver. My mom and dad have the same one that they've had in their junk drawer since probably the 70s. It's an old green one, and it works. And I don't know how many screws that thing's used. And it's not like you go through them all the time. So if you get your kids or a new prepper one of those, that's a buy it for life kit or a tool for sure. And we're going to add, Jaggy says, remember spare fuses and bulbs. Yes. Man, you guys are good. And Greg, man, you guys are all full of great ideas tonight. This is awesome. Greg, yeah, Princess. Oh, yeah. Now, this is one of the few things that Canada has that America doesn't. This would be the closest thing we have to a Harbor Freight. But Greg Arcade, our resident country singer, says Princess Auto has some really good cheap kits too. And they do. I was just there 2 days ago. I went up there to pick up my Big Buddy heater, and they didn't have one, so I had to go to Crappy Tire and get it instead. But yes, so Princess Auto, and I'm sure for my American counterparts, Harbor Freight would have some pretty good kits as well. But yeah, I love, and honestly, for anything that, somebody that's just moving out on their own or just getting into this kind of stuff, any of these inexpensive kits are going to be super sufficient for a long time. Like, I'm a big fan of buy it for life, but I'm also not going to spend $200 on a socket set for a 22-year-old who might lose 3 pieces tomorrow, So there's a balance between quality and price and volume, the amount of stuff that we can actually get for someone like this. So toolkit, multi-bit screwdriver, a hammer. You know what? For something they're going to use, I would probably end up getting them something with a metal handle or a fiberglass handle, simply because it's going to last forever. Because you tend to use a hammer for anything, beating on things, knocking things over, the whole lot. So buy them a decent hammer. It doesn't have to be expensive, but just a good quality. And Greg says, buddy, I had to get a long bar to break our oil plug. Walked out with so much stuff I didn't need. Yeah, that is absolutely true. I actually forced myself to leave my shopping cart behind because I was like, they didn't have what I went for. And I'm like, oh, I just wanted to buy a bunch of stuff. They had Brake Clean on sale for $2.99. But I just said, nope, I only came up for my buddy heater. I got to walk away. And my wife wasn't with me. So a lot of times I feel a little more guilty shopping if she's not with me. So I did pretty good. So a cheap cordless drill. Like I said, Cobalt has some stuff. I believe they have some of those cordless, probably really inexpensive. A socket set. And again, that's somewhere where you can buy just like a 20 or 30 piece kit for $9.99 on Amazon or Harbor Freight or Crappy Tire, because, somebody new like that are they're not going to spend, they're not going to wear that stuff out. They're not going to be a mechanic with it. Jaggy says, let's see, add gloves using a metal handle in wet or cold gloves gives better grip and your hand won't freeze holding it. Very, very true. Yes. Let's put some warm gloves in there too. Now I got a kit that's going, 6 miles long, but this is great. And Chris says a good pair of vice grip pliers is a must in any toolkit. And my next two items were adjustable wrench and pliers / vice grips. Absolutely. Like if I had, needle nose pliers are great. You use them for so much stuff, but vice grips are a little more versatile. They're more apt to round something off, but they adjust a little more, they grab a little more, and it's something that people like using. And an adjustable wrench, make sure you get it in metric though, because you want to be able to open all those metric bolts with an adjustable wrench. There's a good little toolman humor there for you. And I put a roll of duct tape in the toolkit as well, because my kids, I don't want to say constantly. I make them sound like they're always coming to get things. But one of the things they do come to ask me about sometimes is, Dad, do you have any tape? And they know I love my tuck tape. So then they take a roll of tuck tape, and I buy it in bulk because I know they're going to take the tuck tape. So they take it. Or a good roll of Gorilla duct tape, something like that. Because again, they always have uses for it, and somebody's going to come and borrow it from me anyway. So you might as well empower them and give them a good roll of good quality tape. Because if they're going to buy it, they're going to go to Dollarama or Dollar Tree, and they're going to buy the stuff that's $1 a roll. And there's exactly 3 feet on the roll, and 2.5 feet is dry, and the other half a foot doesn't stick to anything. So, get them a good roll of duct tape, buy a good $5 or $10 roll and give it to them, a big bulk pack even, and it's going to last them forever. And they're going to have 100 different uses. And every time they pull out that duct tape, they're either going to think of red, green, or they're going to think of you. So the next one is a blackout kit. And this is one, duct tape better than any Band-Aid. Ain't that the truth? And it works good. Electrical tape too. I don't know why carpenters always, John says kids are freeloaders. Glad I didn't have any. Well, at least they'll be able to, come and give me sponge baths when I'm 85 years old in the retirement home, I guess. But yeah, I love them to death. I just use these guys as an example because it's my life, and it's my personal experience of what I've worked through. So I figured, if my guys are, in need of some of this stuff, then I'm sure there's 100 other, people who are either first moved out on their own or new to preparedness that might need some of this stuff too, right? But for me, I think a blackout kit would be one of the best bangs for a buck, or bangs for your buck, because power outages are really common. We seem to deal with them quite often. In some areas, a lot more common than others. We only have 1 or 2 a year here, knock on wood. But just about everybody has to deal with a blackout. And a lot of times that's an area that somebody on a tight budget just isn't going to ever think to spend any money to be prepared for a power outage. And it doesn't take a lot to be comfortable in a power outage, or at least to be able to get by in a little power outage. So, and a lot of these came from the community as well this week, but a headlamp or a good rechargeable flashlight, that's number one. I love a headlamp. I actually changed out a breaker in my panel today. I used my little headlamp, the Coast brand. I love that thing. I think it's 615 lumens, but a good quality flashlight or headlamp would be great. A rechargeable battery pack for your phones, and you can buy them on Amazon. There's like $10 packs on there. They're not like absolutely, they're not an Anchor brand or an Apple brand or something like that, but they're going to do what they need. The kids or somebody, a new prepper can put a charge in that, and they can throw that thing in a damn drawer, and it can sit there for 2 years and still have a charge when the power goes out. John says, I keep cheap little flashlights hanging from all my home door handles. Absolutely. Do they still make those disposable flashlights? Because my grandmother used to have them. They were about the size of my palm, and they had the little slide switch on them. They were made by like Dorsey or different brands. I don't know what the American brand would be, but she always had them for going around. She grew up in the Depression and through World War II and never wanted to turn lights on in the middle of the night. So she always had those things. And For someone that was super cheap, she never wanted to get a flashlight that took batteries. She always had them damn disposable ones. I don't know if they're still a thing or not, but yeah. And Jaggy says, kits don't have to be for your adult kids. Your kids can get them, also make it appropriate for them and introduce them to preparedness early, and it's a long journey. Absolutely. Yes. And yeah, you could start with young kids as well. But yeah, I mean, get them started and then they might have a kit that they can kind of be in charge of. You know, they'd have their own little blackout kit for their bedroom. I think it would be great. And yeah, good LED headband style light. Absolutely, Joe. That is, yes, I love those. And of course, my kids all say, Dad, you're a dork. But they certainly love their headlights, their headlamps when the power goes out. Because, hey, I mean, you need your hands for free, or you need your hands free when the power's out, and those headlamps really work. But I want to go back to John right quick. That point was awesome. Keep little flashlights hanging from all my home door handles. I haven't heard that. I'm going to steal that, John. Probably going to do some of that around my house, but that's going to be a tip that's going to go into my teaching down the road, because that is so damn simple. And if you have, maybe you don't have a certain cheap brand that you recommend, but if you do, or a size or even a style, send me a link, because that is awesome. Thanks. I like that a lot, John. That's a great tip. Okay. Rechargeable batteries. So my kids go through them a lot, and I use a lot of rechargeables, but I buy those great big 64 packs from Costco, and my adult kids still do come and get some of those sometime. So my plan, one of the big items, and I'll give you the list, I'm going to get them, but rechargeable batteries, because kids will spend, or anybody will spend, a ton of money at Dollar Tree buying those Sunbeam batteries that last for 14 minutes, when if they just spent 5 times as much and bought themselves a little 8-pack of rechargeable batteries with a wall charger, they'd probably be a hell of a lot better off. Chris had another suggestion here. I like this one. You can still get the crank flashlights. It helps to find the new batteries for the headlamp. Ain't that the truth? I love those little crank ones. I've got a little crank, I don't know where it is, a crank radio / flashlight here in my shop. Oh, well, this isn't my shop. This is my downstairs office here, but I have one somewhere, and they're great and they're fun. Who doesn't love to crank them up, make that stupid little, I don't know what kind of noise that is, a little generator noise, but I don't know, it makes you feel important. The kids love it. So like I said, rechargeable batteries and a cheap charger. They don't need to be Eneloop Pros that are $5 a battery, but a little kit, a little just starter Energizer kit, or EBL, Amazon Basics, any of those would be great. And if you want to spend just a little more, although I've seen some cheap, but an 800-watt inverter, you can run a lot of stuff off those, and they're pretty inexpensive. Teach them how to hook it up if they have their own car. And it would be, to me, that would be huge, because you're basically giving them a generator for 1/10 the price of a generator, especially if they already have a vehicle. So teach them how to use it, teach them how to hook it up. Candles, we all talked about candles, but again, that's something, unless they're into decorative candles and smelling funky and all that kind of stuff, then they're not going to have any. And I remember, 20 years ago when I was working at Dairy Queen, we had a huge power outage, and I just kind of spent the day going around visiting people, seeing what they needed. And trading off with people. And more people than I care to admit needed candles. So I ended up getting a big box of candles from my aunt, who had a wood burning stove and made me coffee while I was there. It was awesome. And then I went and give people candles. And there's something a lot of people don't think about. John says, about the flashlight, no specific brand, just the ones that take 3 AAA batteries, and you can keep rechargeable batteries in them. Great idea. So I'm going to, that might even turn that into a little 1-minute YouTube short video at some point, because I'd love to get into doing more tip videos there too. But John, that's awesome. I love it. All right. Jaggy, you're full of information tonight, buddy. I love it. And a portable, inexpensive solar charger to charge up cell phone and batteries during the day. Not so great at charging up at night. Ain't that the truth? But they're great. And actually, those little power packs now, the little battery banks, some of them come with a solar panel built into them. Nothing, super expensive, and I'm sure they're not like ultra efficient, but 2 is 1. So now you can have it charged up in the event you need it. But you can also, if it goes dead or you have a prolonged power outage, they can throw it in a window and maybe get enough of a charge to, get their phone up and running and go on Snapchat for 15 minutes, Heavy blankets, that was another one for a blackout kit. Again, kids are really, well, I stopped saying kids, but it's something that any person who's moved out on their own or maybe is a new prepper doesn't think about. But heavy blankets are great because number one, they can keep your ass warm if it's freezing outside. And if it's a power outage, you can insulate your deep freeze with them as well. And just wrap them in there and just leave it. They're great to have. Next kit, first aid. And so I called this a first aid kit, but I also called it a medicine cabinet kit because a lot of people don't have a lot of money for stocking up their medicine cabinet. First aid's great, but I'm going to do a video on our first aid system, but we have two great big gasketed Rubbermaids that we keep all of our first aid and what you would call what you would call like a medicine cabinet kit. We keep all in there too. So like all the over-the-counter medicines. And a lot of people either, especially at the holidays and stuff, maybe don't have the money to stock up on some of that over-the-counter stuff. So, use your imagination and do it. But my local pharmacy, they have a deal where you buy, I can't remember if it's 8 or 10, you get a little punch card of their generic brand over-the-counter medicines. And when you do, you get the 11th one free. So look at that kind of stuff too, to kind of stack your money together. Jaggy says hot water bottles. That's actually really good. I hadn't thought of that in a long time, but that would be good for, that would fit into either the blackout kit or the first aid kit. So again, to me, I put together this first aid / medicine cabinet kit, but the first one was a metric shit ton of Band-Aids. It never seems to matter how many Band-Aids you get. You buy those big bulk packs and you end up using, the ones that everybody wants are those, the little finger Band-Aids, the ones that go over a cut on your finger. Everybody uses those. So you always have left those little tiny ones that aren't big enough to go around your pinky finger. Or you have those great big odd shaped ones that, fit down between your fingers. So the best thing I would say is go out and buy like 3 boxes of those finger Band-Aids, the normal size, average Band-Aids. Throw them in there. A tube or 2 of triple ointment. I love that stuff. It just seems to work really well. And then buy a great big bottle, the biggest bottle you can afford of generic brand acetaminophen or Tylenol, and a big bottle of Advil. Costco's really good for that for us. We go there a ton, a lot to go buy them. And the stuff is so cheap, the Kirkland brand. Throw that in there. A packet or 2 of cold and flu pills. That seems to be something. There's just so many little bugs and things you get that are good to have. And people just don't always think to have that on hand. So throw in a pack of cold and flu medicine pills. Imodium, that's one that my kids have come by to borrow sometimes. Burn cream, something to just treat, burns, of course. And that could go into the next one, the fire prevention kits that I'm talking about as well. And then cough syrup. So either NyQuil or Dayquil, something. It just seems like we're constantly fighting these friggin' respiratory things around here. And we go through so much medicine. Dr. Christopher's. Yes, is that the bone oil? I don't know how to, I haven't used that stuff before, but I'm going to add that to the list because that is recommended. But yes, so, cough syrup, burn cream, Imodium, cold and flu medicine, a big bottle. And I buy generic all this stuff because you know what? The active ingredient has to be the same in any of them. So just compare the active ingredients and the amount of the active ingredient. And if they're the same, there's no sense in buying brand name at all. So then the other one was a fire prevention kit. And this one, I love this one personally. But if I had to eliminate one from the list, it would be this one because it seems to be the least likely to happen. So it doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a fire prevention kit, but I think the first 4 are more bang for your buck, more likely to happen. So they're going to be more appreciative of it early on. But I love the idea of a little fire prevention kit. And there was a few different people that recommended some of this stuff. But some people said fire extinguishers. I personally love that First Alert fire spray. That stuff is friggin' idiot proof. Anybody can use it. It lasts forever. It doesn't have to be recharged. And if you can use a spray bottle, you can use the fire spray. And it works. So I prefer something that works and is simple over something that works and isn't simple. Hey, let's see what Jaggy says here. Jaggy is awesome on the first aid. We got to get him on some night. We'll do an interview on first aid. Steri strips, wound closures. If you can't afford to add, cut down the duct tape. Oh, yeah, that you have to strip pieces. Also add a good medical book. Even doctors don't know it all without referring to a book. Absolutely. Like, check out the Element. So, John, are they the ones that you can? So, John mentioned checking out the Element fire extinguishers. Are they the ones that you can recharge with CO2 at home? Because if they are, I've watched some of those videos, and I even messaged the company if that's the one, because I would love to get my hands on one to test. So if anybody knows anybody there, I think that's the one, but they're awesome. And I definitely would love to try them out. A good CO detector, battery or plug-in, doesn't matter, because what I find when I go in and I do a lot of property management, a lot of times they'll have a working smoke detector, but they don't have a carbon monoxide detector. And so to me, that's as important or maybe more important. And I don't know exactly whether it's legal or not legal to have one, but damn it, if somebody's moving out on their own, give them a friggin' CO detector, and then at least they'll have one, or maybe they'll have two, doesn't matter. And then this one here, this is something not a lot of people think about, but get them a big pack of long lasting or rechargeable 9-volt batteries, because yes. Okay. I know those ones. I seen them at the RV dealer, and they do look really cool, and they last. I don't want to say if they are, I can't remember. Anyway, they have a really long lasting life on them, but I also think the price was quite high on them too, but that's okay. If something lasts forever, I'd be happy with it. Shelf life of a new extinguisher is 12 years. Hey, Dr. Herbalist, how are you? And yes, that is absolutely true. And that's great. Like 12 years. Well, man. And most of them will basically work. And I don't want to overspeak because I'm not an expert on fire extinguishers, but just sitting on the shelf for 12 years, they should still be good. I know at work, we always used to shake them back and forth, but anyway, yeah, I got to get somebody on. There's a guy on the Canadian Prepper podcast that's a firefighter. I'd love to get a fireman on here. Or if anybody in the community is one or is an expert in fire prevention, I'd love to get somebody on for an interview, because I'd love to be able to expand my knowledge in that area, because it's an area that I am rather lacking for sure. And Jaggy says, I put that one up there. Better get a battery CO protector. If in a blackout, it will work. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple I've been testing out that I really like. I even have a handheld CO monitor that I use for going into properties and stuff, which is great too. But yes, a battery one is awesome for a power outage. And I picked up one from Home Depot not too long ago. It's available on Amazon as well, but it has a 10-year life on the battery. So when you pull that tab, that battery is guaranteed for 10 years. And then you have to throw the machine out. But a 10-year life without having to change out a battery, I love it. And then the last thing for the fire prevention kit I had was a small first aid kit or a burn kit. So again, we talked about first aid, but this would be something more pertain to the idea of, hey, burning I remember when I first moved out on my own, dumbass me, I didn't have much to work with. So when you're working with what you have on hand, you end up causing more problems than you probably should. But I ended up picking up some of them glass Pyrex pots. They have a handle, you can boil things in them on the stove. That's all I had. I got like a set of 4 of them. And I didn't have any pans for baking in the oven. So I made some kind of casserole in it. I took it out, had my oven mitt on, put it up on the top of the stove. And then, stupid me, I went to move it later on, grabbed the handle, and absolutely burned the hell out of my fingers. So some kind of burn ointment, first aid burn kit would be great for kids. And I'm going to bring Dr. Herbalist comment up here. Shelf life on new extinguishers is 12 years. Just so it gets in the video feed too, so people see that, because that's important to know. That's awesome. 12 years, that lasts a long time. So that's the different kits that I kind of talked about. Oh, here we go. Chris has an addition. In addition to any fire prevention kit is a solid escape plan and practice for all in the house. Absolutely. I love that. And I got a little section down here about stuff we can do that's free and maybe, add to our gifts. And so I thought that would be that's an awesome one. Practice, training, because As preppers, we love to buy all the stuff. We love to buy all the things and have all the cool gear. But geez, a lot of people don't bother to take the time to actually use it. Again, going back to my tire repair kit, it's awesome to have a tire repair kit in your car, but if you don't know how to use it, you might as well not keep it in the vehicle. Jaggy says, cling wrap, awesome with burns, and don't put any lotions or potions. Never burst blisters. That makes sense. I don't know why, but it makes sense. I maybe, infection, I think, right, Jaggy? And then Dr. Herbalist says, CO and smoke detectors, generally shelf life is 8 years. So that's great. I mean, yeah, again, you put one up, you don't have to worry about it for 8 years. I got to get something a little colder here to drink, guys. Sorry. My Diet Pepsi. So in case you're wondering, like I said, I had probably about 15 or 20 people respond to my my video asking for, $100 budget with 5 items or less to put together a kit for new preppers. And I picked the 6 items. I know it was 5, but I picked the 6 items that were listed the most by people, just so I thought it'd be fun to know what everybody kind of suggested. But of course, the first one was either a flashlight or LED headlamp. That was by far, almost everybody suggested that, and that's a great idea. Now, something I haven't mentioned tonight, but this was the next common, was a good quality multi-tool or pocket knife. Now, I love the idea of that, and if I was going more to a new prepper, I would absolutely buy them a good fixed blade knife, a good pocket knife, or a good multi-tool. But where I was more looking for young people who are moving out on their own, I wanted to put it toward absolutely dead practical ideas. And that was the same with the next one. Another one was Life Straw. I started to submit, sorry, Joseph, that's awesome. And I thought that too. And I'm going to give you my list that I decided to put together at the end here, because it was some work. I was sitting in the hot tub the other night and it took me about 40 minutes to put together exactly what I was going to do. But Joseph said I started to submit something, but staying under 100 was way too hard. And it is true. Especially in Canada where our prices are higher than you guys. It makes everything that much more difficult. The next most common item that everybody listed was a Life Straw. Again, I love that. And it's awesome if you're going to be, bugging out into the woods or doing bushcraft, or even, I suppose, if you had a boil water advisory or something. But I kind of stayed away from that one. If I was putting together just a hardcore brand new prepper list, I would probably add that. Another one was a lighter or a Zippo lighter. Zippos are a great buy it for life item. Love them. And absolutely, that would be on my next tier of items. Next one was a case of food. A few different suggestions, but some people said soup, ramen noodles, dry pasta, or MREs. I don't know how cheap MREs are in the States, but I could only get about 4 for $100 up here. And that's no exaggeration. And then the 6th item that a lot of people suggested were the crank and solar radios. And I love those things. They're just fun. They're fun to play with. I don't even know if, I want to say millennials, but it's not millennials. Gen Zers, I don't even know if they'd know how to tune in a radio station. But and then I had 3 items that didn't fit into any of these lists per se, but I thought they were awesome suggestions. The first was a good quality can opener. You guys know that I love my Easy Does It American-made can opener. Those are awesome. Number 2, somebody said, give them a grit. Try this again, Tim. Give them a gift of crypto. I thought that was kind of cool, because you could say take 20% of your budget, even though it's not very practical and, they might not get the whole idea behind it, but you give them $20 in crypto and it could be worth $100 in crypto in 10 years or 5 years or a year. It might be worth nothing too, but, Herbalist, Dr. Herbalist says, sorry guys, the rulings of tools can differ from rural or urban areas. And yes, absolutely. And I had a question about gas storage from a guy earlier this week. And again, my answers to him depended on whether he lived in a rural setting, an urban setting. And it's absolutely true because again, if you live in a really dense urban area, you might not even have a vehicle. So, getting somebody a vehicle emergency kit might not be real practical or, but yes, that's awesome. I had never even thought to put that in there, but that's a great point. What you're going to get somebody depends on where they live and the setting that's around them. Another cool suggestion somebody said was an ounce of silver. Again, to me, I love it. I'm a big fan of precious metals, and I think it would be a lot of fun because there's a 10% chance that you might spark a love for precious metals in them, and they might want to stack down the road when they, maybe have some more money in their pockets and that kind of stuff. But again, in a power outage, a pack of rechargeable batteries or a good battery pack is going to go a lot further for them. But, either way, yes. Jaggy says, teach them how to use a P38 can opener. Many will look at it and say, what the heck is that? And that's what I did the first time I saw one. Becky, my wife, she had one when we first got together. And I said, what in the hell is that thing? And her father was in the reserves and he'd always used them. And you know what? You can get pretty quick with those things. And they hold an edge for, I don't know why they stay sharp for as long as they do. But man, them damn things, they're awesome. And then, so the idea behind this whole thing, of course, was, $100, 5 items or less. But then I started making my list and I'm like, you know what? If you wanted to pad your numbers a little bit, there's a bunch of free or nearly free ideas I had too. And I'll try to bust through them for you. But, offer to teach them some skills. So again, I keep using my Victor tire plug kit. But if you're going to give them one, maybe put a cute little certificate that says good for 2 hours of tire inflation training or something like that. Or, with the booster cables, be like, hey, because, you're not born knowing how to use this kind of stuff. And if you look at somebody and think, damn, they really should know how to use booster cables, then you're mean. You shouldn't. Like, everyone needs to learn. You're not born with the ability to use booster cables or patch a tire or any of this other stuff. And we all had to learn from someone else. So, number one, if somebody's interested in this kind of stuff, man, the last thing we need to do is be a huge dick to them and be like, yeah, here you go. Here's your junk. Go learn to use it, because they're not going to have any interest in that at all. So offer to teach them some skills. Maybe give them a pull-out coupon book or something stupid like that. It'd be kind of fun. Something else you can do is put together a collection of free PDF or audiobooks. Absolutely. Herbalist says you can keep your precious metals. I have no use for them. That's okay. We can absolutely, what do you want to call it? Agree to disagree on that. And that's no problem at all. Anyway, you can put together a YouTube playlist for them. So, and this was something I kind of thought of as I was coming together, but, I love the idea of, okay, maybe you're sending this gift to somebody in the mail. So you don't have the time or the ability to be up there with them to teach them a skill, but you could go and spend a few hours putting together a whole playlist of videos that could show them how to do some of this stuff, all the absolute basics. So I think that would be a lot of fun. If you got a bunch of extra blankets kicking around the house that you're not using, throw them their way as well. Because like I said, blankets are great. The two things for me is power outages, so you can wrap yourself up in them. And the other one, of course, is wrap up your deep freeze if there's a power outage. And assist one, I forget how that whole thing goes there, Jaggy, but yes, absolutely. And that is the key, is not just giving somebody the tools, but teaching them the tools of how to use it. That's super important. So after all this, I suppose I should probably share what I ended up deciding on. And my wife doesn't even know this whole list yet, but my goal was $100 Canadian. So I went through Amazon the other night, and 4 of my 5 items, or 5 of my 6, I guess, technically, were from Amazon. And one of them had to come from Crappy Tire because my favorite product isn't available through Amazon in Canada. Oh, there we are. Jaggy. Yes, sorry. I'll share this first. Watch someone do it, assist someone do it, get them to teach someone to do it. And that is, there's no better process. I'm sure you learned that. Jaggy's ex-military. So he served for a lot of years, and absolutely that. And I think that's the whole mindset, isn't it, Jaggy? Like, that's how you basically, watch, assist, and teach, is the whole mindset behind learning a skill completely. And it works. It works in any aspect of life. So the 5 items I picked, and I'll give you my prices, but I and some of these are kind of generic stuff, but I decided to go with a 10,000 milliamp battery pack. You can get a charge and a half to 2 charges on most new phones out of those. And I found on Amazon an INIU brand. I wasn't familiar with it, but it had a like 4.7 star review. It was $25 with a $5 off coupon. So to me, $20 for that was great. I would have loved to have put my Milwaukee screwdriver, multi-bit screwdriver in there, but it would have put me over budget. So I picked a cheaper Craftsman one, also made by DeWalt. So I like that, but $15 for the multi-bit Craftsman. And remember, these are Canadian prices. So $15 Canadian is about $3 American. So not really, I exaggerate, but that's how it feels some days. Then I found a rechargeable 1600 lumen flashlight made by Wow Light for $22. Again, it had really good reviews on Amazon. So I'm going to get all these items in and I'll do a review on them. And then the next item was an EBL. So it was actually two items together. A 4-pack of EBL AA batteries and then a 4-pack of AA EBL batteries with a wall charger. So the charger and 4-pack was $22 with a $5 coupon, and the 4-pack of batteries was $11. And then the last thing I added into that was 1 can of my First Alert fire spray because I loved it. And after all that was said and done, I come to $104. So I broke my own rules, but I thought that was pretty damn close. $104, and I ended up getting them a battery pack, a multi-bit screwdriver, a rechargeable flashlight, 8 AA batteries with a charger, and an idiot-proof fire extinguisher for $100. So I thought that was pretty good. So as long as my kids don't watch this, I won't have to change anything. I'll end up getting a review in or do a video on some of these products just to show you guys what I thought. But to me, it was a pretty neat process going through it and trying to figure out what exactly I could get for $100 and how I could spend that money the most wisely to maybe help somebody, the next generation of preppers and that kind of stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. So then I had this other question. I didn't know if I'd have time to get through. We're only an hour, but I'll take 10 minutes and answer this one too. But I had this from a new prepper, brand new, who just started this summer. He just sent me this question and he said, just wondering if there's any way to safely store gasoline inside the home. I recently lost access to the garage I was keeping my backup gas cans in, and I don't have the garage on the property. Is there any way to safely store about 30 gallons of gasoline inside the home? Don't want to blow myself up or blow up my gas. Yeah. Anyway, so this was number one. I'm probably not the best example to answer this question because I've kept a lot of gas in my garage over the years and I've seen those cans swell up and shrink depending on the heat. But so I chatted with him a little bit. And the first thing that came to mind to me was that prepackaged gas. And I know that stuff is damn expensive. But I mean, all the big box stores have gallons and gallons of that stuff sitting on the shelf. And it has like a 2-year shelf life. It burns cleaner. It's great. Yeah. $104 Canadian is 64 pounds. That's a good deal. I thought so. Hey, I like that. And Dr. Herbalist says rotation. And yes, absolutely. Because, everything in, everything out. But yeah, so I chatted with this guy a little bit through MeWe. And, the first thing I said is maybe look at the prepackaged gas because that's a lot safer because I never, ever, ever would feel comfortable storing gas in a living area because I did have one of my jerry cans spring a leak last year when it swelled right up. It eventually must have swelled enough times that it split right at seam. And it had this little tiny pinprick of a gas stream shooting right out of it on a hot day. That's not safe. But then sometimes we look at a problem and we think, well, I only see one solution and it's a really bad solution. So I got chatting with him and I said, well, here's some other ideas. Maybe you can convert your generator to propane and store propane instead. I'd be a lot more comfortable keeping a couple of, 20-pound canisters of propane in the house. Well, that wasn't an option because right now they just have an inverter and a vehicle. So then I said, okay, how about a covered porch or a shed or somewhere in the yard? And they were concerned about storing gas outdoors in the winter because where they live, it doesn't quite get as cold as where I am, but down to -10. But those jerry cans are made to go through all of the weather rotations. So absolutely, being outdoors in the cold, I would feel way better having them outdoors in the cold than having them indoors in a climate controlled area where you could end up, having a really bad day. So from there, we got talking a little more, and I said, well, where can you put them? Anyway, it turns out that there is some space between his house and his neighbor's house that's unused, kind of like an alleyway storage area. And I got talking and I said, you know what? Why don't you do some kind of urban camouflage type thing? I said, just, throw your, what would that be? 6 gas cans over there, maybe put an old crate over top of them, throw an old weather beaten ratty old tarp on top, and then some rotten wood. And no crackhead is ever going to go dig around under a rotten pile of wood thinking they might find 30 gallons of gas down there. And he said he might throw some car parts on top too, but never thought about it. So sometimes it just helps to chat an idea out with a fellow prepper and think, hey, because I know what I do sometimes is I come to an idea, I come to a problem, and I have blinders on, and all I see is this one simple solution. And I'm like, I can't find, my brain won't let me come up with a better suggestion or solution. And so I, chatting with him, we come up with the idea of, for him, I called it urban camouflage, but it would work. If you have nothing better or no other place to keep something than outdoors, then find a way to hide it in plain sight. That's what I think. Hi Minuteman. How are you? I got, all kinds of notes here. So, okay. Okay. So we got a lot of comments. First one, I'll start with John. So John says, check out the Olight i3T EOS flashlights. I will. Absolutely. Thanks for the suggestion. Now, Dr. Herbalist, he said, question is, why store gas in the first place? Sorry, but I've been prepped for a long time. Well, for him, right now, being a new prepper, and I store quite a bit of gas too, but I also tap into my natural gas and my propane. But one of the least expensive ways to have a really good source of backup power is to have, a 1500 watt inverter and hook it into your car. I remember Stephen Harris always used to talk and he'd say, listen, you got a $30,000 generator sitting in your driveway, so use it. And it's true. So for them right now, that's the cheapest, most inexpensive way to have peace of mind for backup power. Are there other ways to do it? Absolutely. But, gas is a low hanging fruit for a lot of people. And you know what? I like to keep 3 different types of fuel on hand, or at least 2 plus tap into my natural gas. But yeah. And thanks, Minuteman. I appreciate that. And Jaggy, yes, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, but chewing the fat with fellow preppers are the best way to get other ideas. Absolutely. I had a good friend, Matt, when we lived out on the East Coast, and he was a lobster fisherman. And he said, one of the worst things about being a lobster fisherman was that you worked with the same crew day in and day out, so that you had 3 or 4 guys on a lobster boat. And once you got into a routine, you were efficient, but, in the word of Clark W. Griswold's, father-in-law, washing machines are efficient too. They work hard anyway. But yeah, so basically what he said was, 4 people on a crew, and you might be efficient, but there could be better ways to do things, but you're never, ever going to figure them out because it's the same 4 people all the time. So what he loved to do was once in a while help out on another boat, or sit around the wharf and, shoot the shit with a bunch of other fishermen. And he would get some of his best time-saving, efficient ideas by just standing on the side of the wharf, chatting with fellow lobster fishermen. And it was always the simple things, because we get stuck in our ways and we think, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I'm smart. I've been a prepper for 20 years. I don't need this, that, or the other thing. And for him, it was, that's how he always got his best ideas. And I thought, it doesn't matter how old we are or how smart we think we are. If we're that full of ourselves that we're not willing to sit down, on the wharf and chat with a fellow lobster fisherman and realize, hey, if I hook that nail on the end of my gaff, I might be able to pick things up just a little bit better. Jaggy says, everyone is an expert. No one is an expert. You're never too old or proud to learn new skills. Knowledge is power. Absolutely, my friend. And you know what? I never ever feel like an expert. I always joke. I was like, well, people say, well, you must be an expert, Tim, because you're on the Expert Council for the Survival Podcast. Well, no, I just know some stuff, right? And I think if you call yourself an expert, I don't even know how to explain it per se, but if you call yourself an expert and you poof your own head up, you might as well not be doing it. However, what an expert should be is someone that always wants to share their knowledge with somebody else and always wants to learn from other people. And to me, that's what it should be. So take it for what it is. But the reason that I love to share is because I've learned a lot of stuff. I've made a ton of mistakes over the years. And if I can teach 3 or 4 people, the dumbass mistakes that I've made so that they don't make them too, why the hell not? Because it'll save you a ton, just all the simple little things. Like, for instance, the gas can, expanding. And I'd never seen it before, but I went in there and I could smell gas in my garage. And it was literally, it looked like somebody had taken a needle and poked a hole in my gas can. And you had to actually put your hand in it to feel it, which was a stupid idea, but you couldn't see it. You could just smell it. I put my hand there and I could feel this kind of stream of gas coming out of it. So, if I made a dumb mistake like that, like maybe I should have went in and invented the cans a little bit. I don't know. But if someone else can learn from that, excellent, excellent, excellent. Anyone else have any suggestions or any other questions too? This will be the only live stream this week. Hey, G-Tribe. How are you, my friend? You put thoughtful consideration into your answers and you have experience. That makes you more of an expert than most asking the question. Well, I appreciate that, my friend. That was great. This is Skylar, guys. If you haven't seen his interview, he was on last Sunday night on the live stream, shared his story about buying I love the term turd of a house for 10 grand and turning it into an incredible house and selling it and making enough money that him and his wife are now building their own home from scratch and homesteading. So check that out too. That was awesome. But yes, thank you. Dan W. Hey, Tim, didn't realize you were live. I don't know. A lot of people say that they don't get the notifications or something, but you can always turn those on if you want. But either way, I don't know the exact week we're going to start, but we're going to go to Thursday and Sunday live, especially if I can kick this friggin' throat thing that I got going on here. But I'm thinking probably the first week in December. May take a little hiatus over Christmas. There'll still be content, but basically we'll be doing 2 live streams like this and into a podcast format, which I'm really excited about because the podcast is the audio version of the videos has been doing really well, but these live streams are doing really, really well. So I love doing them. They're the most fun I have all week. I look forward to them every day. I put I shouldn't say a ton, but I put a fair bit of prep work into, putting my notes together so that the live stream has really good structure. But we should have about 2 1-hour live streams, Thursday and Sunday. And then the Saturday weekend workshop will be its own kind of 20-minute episode. And you guys will notice the thumbnails, I redid those today. They now say the workshop on them instead of talking tools, and they've all been numbered. So I went back to the very first. Thanks, Joseph. The live streams are awesome. I'm even getting the Odyssey notifications now too for live. So that means it's working. Good. Because this does go, if you guys are Odyssey people or even Float, and I haven't figured out a good way to monitor all those feeds yet, but it is out there so people can watch them too. And hopefully, maybe, who knows, but I would love to get further involved with the guys over at the Prepper Broadcasting Network as well. And they do live streams quite a bit. So we'll get you guys over there once I can they have a different chat kind of format there. But Jaggy says, oh, thank you. Jaggy says, love your audio casts and vids, Tim. You're a good man, my friend, and please give the girls a hug for me again. I know I've talked about Jaggy before, but we got to know each other on Zello first. And that's an awesome app, guys, if you haven't used it before. Great for keeping up with friends. But we both met through the Survival Podcast community, and we've had lots of good long chats in there, and my girls think the world of him. Here we go. Mike, how are you, bud? Haven't seen you. Oh, my God, we got comments coming in like crazy. I have a van that holds 23 gallons. It's an extra vehicle that's not driven much, but it's always full of gas if needed for a generator. Oh, Isn't that awesome? I love that. That is, you guys come up with the best tips, but that's true. Like I, I shared a silly little meme the other day, and I had somebody who actually asked me to explain it to them because they didn't understand the concept, and it was awesome because they weren't being smart. They really wanted to learn. But I put out there that one of the worst, the meme said something along the lines of, one of the worst decisions you can make as a prepper is to not stop at the gas station on your way home. And it took me a lot of years to realize that it's just as inexpensive to keep a full tank as it is to keep an empty tank once you have it full. But yeah, so that's awesome. So Survival Podcast is awesome. If it wasn't for Jack, he would not have got, like, him putting me on the expert council has been what I've used to, I don't even know, to build upon, him giving me that start is what kickstarted me into being able to be a content creator for sure. Okay. So Skylar says, I converted my generator to tri-fuel. Storing propane is a lot more convenient, but you have the upfront cost of the canisters. So I still have both on hand. Great idea for fuel storage, Tim. So yes, before I forget, and this may only be in Canada right now, but there's been quite a few. I thought that was you, Dan. I was sure I knew that was you. And so propane is supposed to be going up quite a bit, at least in my area. Now I went out and I had 2 empty. I actually, I upgraded to 30-pound tanks this year. I standardized because most of my 20s were well past their expiration date, so it's time to get rid of them anyway. I already had 2 30s on my RV, so I thought, why not standardize? So I bought 4 more from Costco, and the price wasn't a whole lot more, but I figured, hey, it gives me 50% more storage, and it basically takes the same floor space to store 20-pound as opposed to 30. And if you didn't know, a propane tank fits perfectly in a milk crate, which makes it really nice for storage, especially if you need to take it somewhere and not roll all over the place. But yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that being said, I went to my local place, had them fill up my propane tanks, and their price hadn't went up yet. So I was like, yes, score one for Tim, because I was able to fill both tanks from empty for $60. And in Canada, that's a great price. Don't 30 do better? Well, Skylar, I don't know that. If anyone else in here knows that, great. If not, that is going to be a Google question that I need to ask later on. I can believe that, but I just love the extra capacity too. And if you have a propane barbecue, what I did with my 30-pounders was I just set it next to the barbecue before I converted mine to natural gas. Got a little longer regulator hose, and that worked great. And our outdoor patio heater, turned out that the 30-pound tank fit in just ever so tightly. So in most instances, a 30 will work as well. So Dan said that propane is up here 40% from this time last year. I think I got lucky. The place I went to doesn't fill a lot of propane, so they probably haven't had to increase their price yet. But either way, every single tank I have is now full to the brim, except for the one that's in my heater that's being used right now. But the other 5 are completely full. So it feels about as good as it can. I like having natural gas as well. I know not everybody could be lucky enough to have natural gas, but the price on that's supposed to sneak up too. And Jaggy says, gas here is at its record. Oh my God. A pound. What do you call that? $1.44 per liter. Oh, wow. So that would be, guys, that's like $8 a gallon. That's insane. Energy prices have gone through the roof. It's crazy. I hear that a lot, and it really makes me nervous. And I am not a negative person. You guys know this. My channel tries to be a bastion of positivity. There's enough people out there talking about doom and gloom and all the, the shit's going to hit the fan. And I get it. It's out there. But if I focus on that, I lose my, collective mind. So to me, but this is something I'm concerned about, is power prices this winter. So let's all, prep, get as much fuel on hand as we can have to help insulate ourselves from the price increase, diversify the best we can. And you know what? I can't promise it'll be easy, but being prepped will help you come out the other side better than people who aren't. And Skylar says, I've heard bigger tanks don't frost up. Not sure if it's true. Well, I've got a guy that I know that works at the propane place here in town. Next time I see him, I will ask him just to see, because I hadn't heard that before. But that absolutely could be the case. And it makes sense. I'm just going to spitball it here, but a bigger volume of fuel would be harder for it to, for the temperatures to fluctuate a lot. John says, have to go, Tim. Great stream. Good night. See you next time. No worries at all, John. Honestly, guys, I could talk all night, but it might be hard to tell, but I don't have much of a voice left, and I'm probably going to fight with it tomorrow because I'm helping the wife at the daycare for the preschool Halloween party. So unless anybody has an absolute pressing question, and if you do, you can always send it to me an email and I'll answer it in the next live stream, or I'll send you a response right away. But I think we're going to end it here, guys. I appreciate it. So 30s frost up less than a 20. I learned that from my propane forge. I knew Chris would have an answer for that. I figured he would. So that is good to know, my friend. All right, guys. I appreciate you dropping in. I love that you'll come and hang out with me in the workshop. Because I know we can spend our time anywhere, but I love that we're building this community. So thank you, guys. And if I had a little more voice left, I would stick around and shoot the shit with you guys for another hour, but we'll work on that. I'm usually not such a whiny little whatever, but anyway, thanks, guys. And as always, what is it? Stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. Saturday morning, which means it's time for another edition of our weekend workshop. And this week I got a cool one for you. I wouldn't really call it a review. I'd call it more of an unboxing video. But I just picked up a 200-watt solar all-in-one, almost all-in-one kit from Amazon. I'm really excited about getting my feet wet. So I want to show you guys what all comes in the eco-worthy 200-watt solar kit. Real quick, before we dive in, if you want to know more about me, toolmantim.co. That's toolmantim.co. If you're new here, 5 pieces of content a week. We have preparedness related videos, we have tool reviews, and a Sunday night live stream called Talking Tools, where we talk about just about anything preparedness related, homesteading, freedom, independence, tools, handyman business, the works. Come by 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, right here. Subscribe so you know all about it. Thanks, guys, and I always appreciate the support. So, this journey, and I'm going to do a few videos on my journey in solar as time goes on, but this journey all started a couple of months ago on Float. If you guys don't know what Float is, it's called float.app, flote.app. My favorite social media platform, just incredible. If you want to check it out, go over there, check it out. It's kind of a hybrid of Facebook and Twitter, but with a lot more free speech available. It's incredible. I love it. Anyway, I did an AMA over there, basically where the community could ask you any kind of questions. And the big one was they wanted to ask me a bunch of preparedness questions, and I answered everything I could. But I got a few questions on solar, and I realized, guys, I had to admit, I don't know solar. I don't know jack. Well, I know jack, but anyway. But I don't know solar. I don't know jack about solar. So I figured, what better way than to interview someone who knew a bit about solar. So I had Chicken Hawk from Chicken Hawk Farmstead on the Sunday night live stream. We had an incredible conversation about solar. I learned a ton from him. I've been digging into a bunch of videos ever since, and I figured, what better way to get used to working with solar than to start getting your feet wet? So you guys know I upgraded to some battery tools this summer. So I had some superfluous still landscaping gas-powered gear, sold some of that, cashed in all my bottles, my empties, and turned them into, my whole system so far is 2 deep cycle batteries, an inverter that isn't here yet, and this solar kit. So I'm going to, down the road, talk about all the rest of the stuff, but today I wanted to share with you guys. I've already had a bunch of questions on social. What exactly is in this system? So let's take a look. So here's the box, guys. I had to step back a bit so you can see it. I'm going to try to do this without it falling apart. So it's eco-worthy 200-watt system. Reliable, solar, expert. Sounds good to me. But anyway, the cardboard looks good. Let's flip it over. I've already opened it, but we're going to take a look at what comes inside. So the first thing I noticed when I got it, my daughter actually picked it up at the post office. She said, "Dad, this is really heavy for the size of it." And to me, that told me, hey, I think they're kind of substantial. And when I picked up the box, she wasn't wrong. She wasn't just crying or being a crybaby. No, I'm just kidding. She's a good girl. I love that she goes to the mail for me. This was the box here. There was a rip in it. I was kind of concerned. Anyway, I don't think I need to be, because it seems to be the design of it is very sturdy, and what I love is you pick up the panels and they're heavy. So let's take a look at what comes in the box. All right, so here's the accessory bag. We'll talk about what comes in that down the road. Here's our manual. I believe these will be the mounting clips, some wires, and here are the really nice, there's two of these 100-watt solar panels. Tempered glass or whatever it's called exactly there. It's got the connectors on the back, nice aluminum, I guess square tubing or angle iron around the sides. And, you know, they're a solid, I don't know, they're probably 10 pounds a piece anyway. And yeah, so at least the design of them, because I've watched a lot of review videos on a lot of different solar systems, and some of them look pretty cheap and pretty chintzy. So I was pretty pleased with this. The reviews on Amazon were awesome. We'll do a full-on review once I've played with this for a while. So this is just, like I said, an unboxing showing you what comes in it. So let's see if we can do this without breaking them. Here's solar panel number 2. We'll get rid of the cardboard here so we can set things up just a little bit better. All right. So, solar panel, there we are. Some solar connectors. They're a pigtail 2-to-1. I don't exactly know what these go to yet. It's kind of fun because I just took a real quick look at this earlier today and I thought, you know what? We're going to unbox this together and see what all comes with it. So these are the really weird mounting clips. I don't even know quite how they work yet. I say they are. I better open it up to tell you for sure. Stainless steel mounting hardware, that's good. And yeah, there are that's really weird, stainless steel nuts and bolts, but aluminum clips to mount them to the roof. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to mount them on the roof of the garage or on the roof of the sea can storage container right next to me. So if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. That's a flat roof, so I can angle it better. The problem with the garage roof right here is it's an east-west peak and the sun is that way. So if I want to get them kind of up to take advantage of southern exposure, I might have to get a little creative with how I mount them. So any of you guys out there that are solar experts or know a little bit more about mounting than I do, let me know. Anyway, so stainless steel hardware, aluminum mounting clips. I guess we'll set them on the glass there. I showed you the manual. Pictures look pretty straightforward. Anyway, we'll get into that later on. Now, it comes with 16 feet of solar cable, both the positive and the negative, the red and the black. I'll show you what we get here. We'll come up a little bit closer to show you some of this stuff. Let's use our MT knife Genesis 2 neck knife to open that up. Shameless plug for Patrick, but I love this damn thing. So let's come up a little bit closer and show you what we get with this. So here are the brackets. We'll see how they work. Not quite sure yet, but that's okay. These are these 2-to-1 pigtails. Just if you want to get a look at them, they feel very sturdy. They're like somewhere between a vinyl and a rubber. Flexible, but not too flexible. And 16 feet each of red and black solar wire with the cable on one end, bare wire connection on the other. Looks like these connect into those. I believe they have to do with hooking into the solar panel. Obviously, they have to do with hooking into the solar panels. And what else do we have in our bag here? Let's see what this guy is. I don't know what this is. So, more mounting hardware and more clips. So there's the rest of them. Same shit, different day. Same size. Yep. So we get 8 of them, enough to do both panels, and then a 20 amp charge controller. So a few little alligator clip style kind of electrical cables. I'll bring this up to show you a little bit closer. So this is the charge controller. It's a 20 amp, I know that. It is the, see if I can find it here, model number EW1906. It's the cheaper, less efficient charge controller. I decided to go with this simply because this was the first system that I was getting my feet wet on. So I just figured, hey, we'll start with something small. I can always upgrade the charge controller down the road. Now it does say that it's good for 12 or 24 volt as well. Doesn't really matter to me. I'm going with a 12 volt system for the time being. So let me come up a little bit closer. It actually, surprisingly, this charge controller feels sturdier than I expected. Room to hook in your wires there. On-off power button, LCD display, and 2 USB so you can pull power directly, I guess, from your solar panel before it goes into your batteries. I think that's kind of cool. There we are, 4 holes to mount it to the wall. Probably you can't quite see, but right over here is where I have my the power. There's an on-off for the main electrical coming in, and I also have my furnace hooked up right there. So this will be a good enough spot as any. There we are. Okay, so in the box, 2 100-watt solar panels, 20 amp charge controller, 2 coils, red, one of black, 16 feet of the solar cable, 2 of the 2-in-1 pigtails. And I know somebody's going to slam me and say, Tim, you don't know any of this stuff. Well, yeah, I don't know any of this stuff. It's the first time I've ever bought anything solar. So give me a break. Anyway, I'm learning, you're learning. Anybody knows a name for some of this shit, throw it in the comments below. But this is just me and you learning as we go. So there's our pigtails right there. 8 mounting clamps, clips, whatever you want to call them. 2 bags of mounting hardware. An owner's manual, and a small package of wire connectors that I assume go on the end of these red and black wires when we hook up the panels. And that, and a little manual for the charge controller. I'll go through all this down the road. So what do I expect this to do? Well, to be honest, I don't really know yet. I'm going to test it out. I'm still learning. I mean, I've always been able to convert, if you take 15 watts, try that again. 15 amps at 100 watts gives you, we're going to cut that out. So what do I expect this system to do? Well, I really don't know a whole heck of a lot about it yet. I've been watching some videos on how to figure capacity, drainage, there's so much to it. And I know that it can be made more simple, and I'm going to try to do that with you guys as I go along. I know my basics of, 1500 watts divided by, 110 volts is, anyway, your amps. I know the basic simples of, domestic electrical kind of formulas and that kind of stuff. But this is all new to me. So it's a brand new topic I'm learning. I love to dive into new topics. But this is something that is going to be modular, I hope, or at least the information is going to be modular. The plan, hopefully, is to eventually have 4 or maybe even 6 of these panels with 4 or maybe even 6 batteries. I'll talk about all this in my solar video down the road. But what I learned from taking my garage off the grid, I'll be able to turn into, hopefully, taking my RV off the grid and hopefully building a backup for a backup for a backup for a backup emergency power for the house. You know how it is. So, basically we have our regular power, then we have our great big Furman generator, then we've got a 1500 watt inverter. I'm just excited. Like redundancy after redundancy, but this is just something really neat and really cool that I want to play with and learn. And I hope you guys follow along with me as I learn about solar, because it's going to be kind of fun. So yeah, that is a look at the eco-worthy 200 watt Amazon solar kit. Just an unboxing. First thoughts, not really a review. I hope nobody came into this video looking for a review, because I literally haven't even hooked anything up yet. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Always love you guys dropping by and hanging out with me in the workshop. I know you can spend your time anywhere, and I really appreciate you coming along and hanging out with me. So guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop, where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Tuesday morning, which means it's time for another edition of Toolbox Tuesday. And I've got a good one for you this week. Toolbox Tuesday is where I basically just talk about a tool, a product, an adhesive, a chemical, whatever, something that I've used in the past that's really worked well for me. Bare bones, no footage, just kind of me talking about how good something is. And this week, I get asked all the time, Tim, what do you think of gutter guards? What's the best way to keep gutters clean? And I always tell them the simplest and best product to use is a downspout filter. Guys, real quick before we dive in, you want to know anything about me and who I am? toolmantim.co, run by the website. Check it out. Sign up for the monthly newsletter. Check out the weekly podcast. Check out the shop, where I've got over 100 products that I've recommended, stuff you can pick up through Amazon, and if you do, it helps support the content I create. So thank you very much, guys. All right, so this, once again, I posted some video, some pictures on social here recently of me up on people's roofs, cleaning out eaves troughs. That's what this funny Canadian calls them. Gutters, whatever you want to call them. I was just up there walking along with my DeWalt cordless blower, and most of these were ones I do once a year, so they weren't too bad anyway. But I probably got asked 3 or 4 times this year, Tim, what do you think of the gutter guards? It does not matter what they are. My personal opinion is they are trash. All they do is act like a filter to collect junk. So the idea is, and there's 2 main ones that you guys will see. The permanent gutter guards are the long flat ones that have just almost like pinholes in them, and they're mounted directly on, they're screwed down to your gutter. So now you've got this gutter up top that'll carry water away, but there's literally nowhere for the debris to go. So what's it do? It gets wet, it gets stuck, and it just sticks to the top there. And then all of a sudden, instead of having, say, 4-inch deep, 4-inch wide gutter to collect debris, now you've got just this flat platform. What happens? It freezes, it sticks, it builds up, the water runs through, and if the holes are big enough and the silt gets through, then how the hell are you supposed to clean out your gutters once it actually gets through that screen? I've run into more trouble. I did one for a lady last year. They hadn't been touched in years, and there was no water getting into her eaves. There hadn't been in years, because them damn gutter guards were up there. There was a buildup of dirt, pine needles, leaves. It was just caked like 2 inches thick, and there was nowhere for it to wash out or clear off because it just stuck. Now the other type is the cheap plastic stuff that comes in a roll about yay big, a little bigger than a roll of toilet paper, and you roll it out and fit it down into your gutters. Now they're a little bit better because they sit down in the gutter, so there is room for some leaves to get in there. However, they're not very UV appropriate. The sun breaks them down, they become brittle, they tear, they get caught in the wind pulls them out. You have to remove them to clean them, put them back in, and even when you take them out and shake them, the leaves and shit still stick to them. To me, they're way bigger of a pain in the ass than anything else. So what do I recommend? Well, really 2 things. Good, solid annual gutter cleaning once a year in the fall after the leaves have fallen. To me, that is the best way. Go up there, clean it out. If they're dry, blow them out. If they're a little bit wet, scrape them out and then rinse them down. And then the other key, and the thing that I love the most, or the most important thing to me, is the downspout, because your gutters can be as clean as a whistle, but if your downspouts are plugged off, all that is just a big, heavy carrying vessel for water to end up holding onto and then washing off the side. So, and I found some fun things in downspouts, including apples, badminton birdies, tennis balls. I don't even know how some of that stuff got down in there. But to me, the one thing that I absolutely love are these little things right here. They almost look like a protective light bulb cover. Depending on which ones you buy on Amazon, I get these at my local home hardware, but whatever ones you get on Amazon, they run between $2 and $4 a piece. And they're worth every penny, because what these do is they fit down into the top of your downspout, and they allow absolutely nothing to go down there that's too big to clog that off. Now your eaves trough, anything gets up in there, you can scoop that out by hand. Anything of a large size gets down in your downspout, you're going to have a bad day. You got to try to fish down through, or what I find a little more effective is take it all apart. So, 3-4 screws, take it apart at every joint, tap it all out, clean it all out, put it back together, hope you don't bend it, break it, anything. And of course, every time you take it apart, it's never going to fit back quite the way you did. So if you can prevent that, these guys are great. I go around, it's an upsell for my gutter company, or I don't have a gutter company, for my gutter cleaning service that I offer. Pay, like I said, between $2 and $4 a piece for these. I charge $10 installed. I'm already up there, and it's a no-brainer. You put these in, and the next year, what do? I go back, I pull that out, shake it off, put it back in the hole, and I know that downspout is absolutely clear. Still test it out, run water down, make sure it runs clean, and you're good to go. Super good protection for what you get with these. I love them. They have like a, let me see here, 4.5-star review across the board. There's heavy ones, there's light ones. It doesn't matter what you buy, as long as you get some of these that fit right down into the top of your downspout. To me, this has been my secret weapon in keeping people's downspouts and gutters running free. There's always a bunch of junk up there. Like I said, I can't stand gutter guards, but these little $2 pieces of insurance have saved my bacon a bunch. They work really well. I have another house across town. I've done theirs a few times. They have an apple tree right next to their backyard. They were constantly falling in there, filling up the diverter, and just backing everything up. And this solved it. $2. That's what it takes. So if you're looking for the one thing that'll absolutely keep your gutters running clean, I like this guy. And I'm speaking from experience, because I think I did about a dozen this year, but I do anywhere between 10 and 20 sets of gutters every single year, get them clean for people, and they work. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. This is a little bit different one, but this is definitely a product that meets the Toolman Tim seal of approval. It's something I've used for years, and if I can talk a customer into it, they're always happy when they buy them. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. I always appreciate you hanging out here. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. 5 videos a week, including a live stream on Sunday nights, 7 o'clock Mountain, 9 o'clock Eastern. Drop by, interact with the community. We always have a good time. And as always, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Wednesday morning, which means it's time for another Tool Time gear review. And this week, I've got more of an unboxing for you. It was time for me to upgrade my tire plugging game. I had a ton of different recommendations from people across social media, and I want to share with you guys what I ended up settling on right after this. Real quick before we dive in, you know it, if you want to know more about who I am, toolmantim.co, run by there, sign up for the monthly newsletter, check out the weekly podcast, check my social links, and of course, the way to support the content I create, check out the shop if you're looking for recommendations on way over 100 different products that I've used in my handyman business. Anything you buy through Amazon there helps support the content I create, and I'm very grateful, so thank you very much, guys. Okay, so if you guys saw my video a while back about the Victor tire plug kit and how to plug a tire, one thing you'll know is front tires are a lot easier than back tires. Bigger vehicles are easier than smaller vehicles. And of course, my daughter happens to have a small compact vehicle. She had a nail in her rear tire, so I had about this much room to plug it without taking the tire off. And of course, the whole idea of having an emergency tire plug kit is to be able to plug your tire on the side of the interstate without needing to take it off and without needing to call AAA or anything like that. So I really like that Victor tire plug kit, and it is way better than nothing. It's awesome for what it does. It's great. It's a really good, small, compact tire plug emergency kit. The biggest downfall are the tools with it. They're sturdier than some of the really cheap ones I've seen, but again, they're not as sturdy as, well, an all-metal tool, for instance. And one of the biggest problems I had is trying to put extra pressure into those tight spots and push it into place. The plastic handle had a little bit of give to it, and eventually I bent the tool. So I was just about to run out of plugs. I've used, I don't know, I think there's 8 or 10 that come in that pack, and I got 1 or 2 left, and I thought, you know what? It's time to upgrade my tire plug kit. Now, if you're looking for a comparison video on a bunch of different tire plug kits, Project Farm, a huge, massive YouTube channel, did one recently. I'll put a link in the description for you guys. But this is the one that I settled on. A lot of people give me different recommendations, and my biggest concern, well, maybe not concern, but my biggest, you know, the attribute that I really wanted was all metal tools. Plus, I like the Victor tire plug kit, but I needed to keep, say, an X-Acto knife blade or a utility knife blade to cut the patch off, and I needed to keep some sort of pliers on hand in order to pull the nail or whatever happens to be out. What I like about, and also it really doesn't come in a storage kit. Not a big deal for what you're doing, but what I was looking for was an all-in-one kit. And this one right here, it's just another one of those Amazon, you know, made in China imports, but it's a 34 piece. It was kind of the sweet spot between expensive, cheap, and robust. And so let's open this guy up and see what it comes with. Down the road, next time I have to patch a new tire, I will do another review on this and tell you exactly how this worked, but I wanted to show you guys what I settled on. This is more of an unboxing video than a review video because I haven't had a plug tire or a flat tire that I needed to plug yet. So here it is. This is all that comes in it. 34 pieces, of course. You know, let's see. Oh boy. Oh, feel like O.J. Simpson putting the glove on. These will work in a pinch. They're tight, they're small, doesn't matter. A pair of gloves is great, whatever. So that's 2 pieces. Now I don't know if this counts as a piece. However, some nice, clear color instructions. Let's see. Remove offending object from tire with included heavy-duty pliers. Apply up. Anyway, so not too bad. That can be handy, especially if you've, well, for starters, don't carry one of these if you've never used one and try to plug a tire on the side of the interstate. You're going to have a bad day. But practice at home, and this could be really good, and especially, you know, if it's a dark night or a cold, rainy night and you're nervous and you're plugging one on the side of the road for the first time in a real-world situation, having instructions can help calm you down just a bit. Lubricant, well, we won't make any jokes about that now, will we? But nice to have. That's one thing I found is that getting the plugs to push in can be really difficult sometimes. A little bit of lubricant is nice. Aha, look at that. An extra plug insertion tool tip. I like that quite a bit. Let's show you the one right here. I assume that's depth control so you don't go in too far. I really like that. Now that is a really, I could still bend that if I really wanted to, but it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to do than the plastic ones that come with the Victor kit. So there's that. Here's the reaming tool, or the rasp. It doesn't have as much of a sharpness to it. So when you push this in, it seems like it might be a little harder. I like the point on it, and I think it'll work really well, but it's not going to chew the tire up. It's just going to spread it apart. Not too bad. Now here is the handy dandy foreign object removal plier or pry bar. I think that might actually work because this is a lot more compact and all together than having to keep a bunch of assorted pieces all over the place. A little tiny, basically a utility knife blade, but with a nice protective plastic piece on it. I kind of like that. None of this is like hyper expensive stuff, but this is a huge upgrade from my little tiny kit. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to read the instructions. If anybody knows exactly what those 4 little pieces are for, that would be great, but I know they count as part of the 34 pieces. An Allen wrench for changing out if you happen to bend your insertion tool. There's an Allen key right there that you can replace. And the meat of the 34 pieces. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 tire plugs. They look like a pretty decent tire plug. They're black as opposed to the Victor brown ones. Let's open this up. Oh yeah, they're stuck good. Consistency feels about the same. They look about the same. Proof will be in the pudding the first time we test it. But so, what do we get in this 34-piece kit? I really like it. We get 20 tire plug patches. We get the foreign object removal pry bar. 2 is 1, 1 is none. We get an extra tire insertion or plug insertion tool shaft, I guess you'd call it. So if you happen to bend or break this one, you get an extra one. Never anything wrong with having an extra one. The foreign object hole rasp for making the hole, spreading out just a little bit more. 2 gloves. I rarely use gloves, but hey, if they're going to give them to you. Lubricant for inserting the tire plug kit. Nice little utility knife blade for trimming it off. And of course the Allen key for changing out the extra. Colored instructions. And 4 foreign objects. I'll find out what these guys are and I'll put some text in the video for you at the end. So guys, this I think is going to be a really cool kit. I just wanted to show you everything that came with it. There was actually some thought put into this because a lot of these kits you're like, who really built these? But there's literally nothing in here, well, other than those 4 unknown objects, but there's literally nothing in here that I wouldn't use. It's all an upgrade and improvement from my little Victor entry-level kit. So once I run this through the paces, I will tell you for sure if it has the Toolman Tim seal of approval. But as far as robustness and a full value kit for the price of it, absolutely. If you're interested, I'll throw a link in the description below. You can check it out, see if it's something you're looking for. There's bigger kits, smaller kits, but this was the one that had everything I was looking for. So guys, if you have a different recommendation, I would love to do a showdown between a couple different kits. Throw them in the description, throw them in the comments below. Let me know. And if you're new here, guys, introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know who you are. Share your knowledge with us. I'd love to find out what you know so we can share it with the community. And guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Thanks again, guys, for dropping by the weekly workshop. A new edition drops every week, so keep an eye out. And if you're looking for a solution to such problems as I spilled paint on vinyl siding, or I can't get this heavy picture to stay on the wall, stop by toolmantim.co and check out the Today's Tool section, where I share products and tools that have either made me money or saved me money personally or in my long-running year-round handyman business. And if you found value in this content, please take a moment and share it on your social platform of choice. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.